Welcome to this video demonstrating an endoscopic stapedioplasty, an uncommon procedure for an unusual cause of conductive hearing loss. Given the patient's history, which was atypical for otosclerosis, a preoperative CT was requested. Here we can see the long process of the incus, with its articulation with the stapes, with a further mass of osseous material extending from the stapes to the retrotympanum. This is not seen on the contralateral side, where we can again see the long process of the incus and the stapes head, but no additional material. The procedure is performed awake with the endoscope and begins with the usual bucket handle flap. The tympanic membrane is elevated, dissecting between the chorda and the annulus. Once elevated, I palpate the handle of the malleus to assess the lateral chain, which is mobile, but the stapes appears fixed. The chorda is gently mobilized and then opposed to the undersurface of the tympanic membrane. The scutum is then reduced with curettage in order to improve the view of the retrotympanum. Here we can see some soft tissue material occupying the space between the long process of the incus and the scutum, known as the posterior isthmus. The scutectomy is extended in order to improve our access further. And now we're able to appreciate the long process of the incus shown here, part of the stapes capitulum, part of the stapedius tendon, and a large mass of ossified tympanosclerosis encasing the stapedius tendon. I begin by palpating this tympanosclerosis with a gently curved needle in order to determine whether it's soft or firm, and how firmly attached it is to key structures such as the stapes. Through gentle palpation we can see some fracture lines developing on the tympanosclerosis. I try to pick away at these fracture lines with a 0.5mm hook, though the plaque remains firmly intact. I then introduce a sickle knife into the plane between the stapedius tendon and the plaque. Placing this in the correct plane and with the gentle traction motion, the plaque is completely dislodged. This is retrieved with a 0.5mm hook and a fine end suction, and reveals the normal anatomical structure seen here, including the entire stapedius tendon, an unobstructed view of the posterior cross, and the long process of the incus. The flap is then reposited and the hearing tested on table with a free field test. Once satisfactory hearing is confirmed, a silastic sheet is placed along with a Pope wick, which remains in place for 2 weeks. 2 weeks on, healing appearances are seen within the ear canal, and early audiometry shows a significant improvement with a pre-operative airbone gap averaging 35 decibels and complete closure of the airbone gap at 2 weeks. This is reflected in the patient's feedback, who is extremely satisfied 2 weeks on. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing for further content.